go after is called a challenge award. And so this is equivalent to 2 of a 5-band DXCC. So this is 1,000 band countries for it. Then it also has endorsements on it that you can get for 1,500, 2,000, and 2,500. I'm closing in on the 1,500 mark. I got 1,475 now that's confirmed. So that's your next big chunk that goes on there for it. But there are also specialized awards in the DXCC program as well too. This is one that I got for working 100 countries just during the year 2000. It was the Millennial DXCC award for it. That was a fun one to go after. That was the year that we moved from American Fork down to our present QTH in Payson, and the station was completely disassembled. I finished the station, got it back on the air about mid-October. So I worked the last country on December the 31st at about 11 p.m. Just squeaked in. Just squeaked in. Last year, in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the DXCC program, they are all put together a program that says, okay, now let's see just how good everybody is. We want you to work 100 of the original DXCC list that was published in 1933, I think it was, something like that. And so you had to work, of course, some of those DXCC countries don't exist now, but you had to work someone in that location. And so they put this one together for us. And then, so it was for the first 100 countries, then there was endorsements for every 25 past that. I actually ended up with 162 last year out of it. So those are ones that they offer every now and then that you can go pick up for. But there's lots of other awards too. There's the Islands on the Air Award. It's done by the Great Britain.
Radio Society Great Britain.
Thank you. Radio Society of Great Britain. Brain cramps there. Short. For those of you who reach my age, you know what those feel like. But there is like several hundred. I don't know exactly how many islands on the air. I haven't gone after any of the awards yet, but I have looked into it, and there's some of them I do qualify for. So that's something you can do. The county hunters groups, they try to work all 3,000 counties in the U.S. There are a number of them that have achieved that. They work a station in every county in the U.S. for it, which is an interesting challenge for them. More fun than you should be allowed to have. There's lots of traffic handling and special events that you can work with too. How many of you here check in on the Beehive Net? A few of you? Yes. There's a question here.
Yeah, how do you do every county in the U.S. when there's 2 counties in North Dakota that don't have any?
County expedition. That's what some of the QSO parties they're all about for. Like for instance, a couple of years ago, there was a bunch of us that got together and went out and did a county expedition in the state of Utah. We went out on Millard and Juab County line, and we set up a pair of stations and we competed in the contest event. And so the bunch of us ended up with this 7th Area QSO party plaque. We won #1 overall. We cleaned up the clock on that one. It was a lot of fun. But there's special event stations that you can go work as well too that are kind of fun. You'll see them pop up and off the air. They're all published as when they're going to be on. This was one that I picked up. They send out little certificates for it. They're lots of fun. This was station CY7TUB. I got the certificate and QSL card for it. This commemorates the bathtub races across Vancouver Bay. So hook the motors up onto the bathtubs and run them across the bay.
So the Maritime Mobile?
Yeah, I guess in case you would call it that. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But contesting in these environments, and we listened to one of the contest exchange from VP6DX from Milk down there, which is a a rapid fire, gather the contacts, put them in the log as quickly as you can. Admittedly, it's not for everybody. I wouldn't call myself a contester, with the exception that I use the contest extensively to look for new countries that I haven't worked before on specific bands. They're a gold mine of new material for you to work out there for. And they're all variable as to which one to do, but there's some exchanges that have to go through, and we'll actually go into some of those in more detail a little later on. But one of my most prized awards that you can get is that this is something that you can't apply for. This is something that you have to earn based on your behavior and your operating styles and your techniques that you use on the air. If you spend enough time on the air, sooner or later, there'll be enough hands that have recognized your operating skill and will nominate you for the A1 Operators Club. And so you'll get this, will just show up in the mail one day for that, okay, you've earned it before. I was more proud of this than a number of things. But that is something that you can all achieve for. It's something that's fun to do. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
Mayor Payson, what's your noise floor? And
On 160 meters, it'll run 10 dB over S9 nominally. On 80, S8, S9, something like that, no. Don't expect, especially on the lower bands, don't expect to have a low noise floor, even if you move out into the country like I did. It's more of an operator skill thing than anything else. Have another question here?
What kind of rig do you have?
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Any other comments, questions? Okay, so what makes all this possible? There's actually three major pieces that you're going to want to pay attention to. One is your antennas. Admittedly, for your first antennas, most of us went very simple. My first antennas were just wire antennas. First one was laying on the roof of the house, for crying out loud. And I made my first 60 countries on that antenna for it. And so it's not like you have to have something exceptional. We're going to talk about some equipment, and we're going to talk a little bit about propagation. Propagation and bands and stuff like that, we're going to leave, because I know you guys got an upcoming meeting, and Bob, I think, is going to talk about that extensively. And so, but we'll just touch bases on it a little bit so that you get to work with. Don't cut short your antennas. There is nothing in your arsenal to work long distance communication that will be more effective than putting up a good antenna. They can be good, they can be bad, but the more effective you make your antenna, the better your chances are of making those long distance contacts. Doesn't mean you need a lot of it, but for your first one, for those of you who have never done HF like that or worked on it, then put up a dipole antenna and go to work on it. And it's amazing what you will contact. I have a friend of mine, I've known him for many years, KD7 Dave, I just lost his call sign in the gray matter there. He lives in a mobile home, and the peak of his antenna is on a 6-foot pole over the roof of his antenna. The ends of the antenna are tied to the ground. He just went over the 200 country mark on that antenna in that rig. 100 watts, nothing more. And it's even an old rig. It's an old Kenwood 9, or one of the old half tube, half solid state rigs for it. So it's perfectly doable. It's just a matter of spending the time on it. This is my current HF antennas. The bottom antenna is a 40 meter, 30 meter beam. Has 3 elements on 40 meters and 3 elements on 40 meters. And the one in the middle is the 5 element 6 meter beam, one on top of the 12 element log periodic dipole array. After I put up this 40 meter antenna, we ran a contest on this one here, and that antenna would put a 30 dB over S9 signal on 40 meters in Spain. It was amazing. And so you can't, if you're gonna contest, you really do need good antennas for it. That 40-meter antenna used to be an 80-meter antenna, and I decided that it was not effective enough, mainly because it was not far enough off the ground for 80 meters. And so we converted to 40, and then we went to this antenna here for the 80-meter array. So that's a 4-square array on 80 meters. It's 4 verticals that are 68 feet long, spaced 70 feet apart, that are phased together for a directional effect on it. And when I had the True Element 80-meter beam, I had worked like 30 countries in the 3 years that it was up on 80 meters. I put this antenna together and I did a DXCC the first year on 80 meters. Much more effective antenna. Like I say, you can't really get true effective antennas for it.